Hello my friend and welcome back to Pro Mix Method. I hope you're having a great day. I hope you're having an awesome week. Today we're going to be unpacking a super easy to understand method of gain staging. Now gain staging causes quite a lot of confusion. If you take a look at a bunch of different audio channels on YouTube, you'll find a whole selection of different theories, approaches and thoughts on gain staging, and that can make things even more confusing. I think a lot of the confusion lies from the switchover of analog days, where gain staging was more important. There was a noise floor, that hiss to contest with. Tape could also be pushed quite hot and get quite satisfactory sounds. Also, certain pieces of hardware back then worked at their best when they're receiving signal at a certain level, making gain staging really important. Skip to now, and there's 3 reasons really why you would want to do some quick gain staging before you start mixing. Firstly, and most importantly, to prevent digital clipping, because digital clipping sounds nasty. Secondly, to keep your faders closer to 0 or unity. If you're working with a mix and most of your faders are right towards the bottom, you'll notice the increments get smaller and smaller, making it harder and harder to make small mix adjustments. And finally, to optimize your analog plugins. Much like the hardware of yesteryear, many software developers have created their analog emulation plugins very closely to the original hardware that they're emulating, right down to the level that they will work optimally when receiving a signal at a desired level as their hardware counterparts used to. This is typically around -18 dB VU. But above all, the most important thing is to prevent clipping on your tracks. Gain staging is quick and easy. It should be done in a matter of minutes. I'm going to show you a super easy method right now. Let's dive straight in. So first off, I'm going to need a tool in order to be able to manipulate the gain of each track. I'm going to show you these around Studio One, but in most DAWs it's very similar. All DAWs are going to have a plugin like this, which is called Mix Tool in Studio One, which allows us to attenuate or boost the gain very easily just by dropping it in our inserts. There's also a spanner here in Studio One which allows you to either untick or tick input controls. You can see when I tick it, then we start these little gain knobs arrive on our track. Once again, means that we can attenuate or boost our track. Let's just get that back to 0, and you can also hop onto the track itself and just drag the gain. You can see it affecting the stem there. You can boost and attenuate it that way too. So a whole bunch of different options. Using the track control here, I find the easiest way to go. Next, you're going to want to know what level to shoot for. Now this isn't an exact science. You don't have to sit painstakingly making this exactly right. Get in the ballpark, you'll be absolutely fine. I like to use a very simple to understand traffic light system. I'm using the dBFS meters, that's decibel full scale meters that you've got in your DAW, because they best represent the peaks of your audio. And it's the peaks that I'm looking out for using this system. It's a traffic light system which is red. If it hits around -6 dBFS, it means stop, turn your gain down, your track is too hot. If your track is peaking around -10, -12 dBFS, that's my amber. You are good to go. That's absolutely fine. Anything below that is green. It's going to be fine too, but just keep an eye out for your track getting too quiet. You may find that could make mixing a bit tricky further down the line. So if you find your track is peaking down here, sort of at -24 or lower, you may want to bring it up closer to amber. So let me give you a couple of examples. Let's take a look at this kick drum. I'm keeping an eye on the dBFS meter down here. Now it's kind of averaging around -10, but there's a few occasions it's hitting around that red zone, -6. All I'm going to do is just grab here. I'm going to just take it down by a few dB. Let's take another look. Awesome. Now we can move on. Let's check out our bass. Little peak there just above 6 dBFS. Just turn it down a little bit to be on the safe side. Here's an acoustic guitar here. So that's looking nice and safe. I'm not going to even touch it. Check out this electric guitar, often an offender. So recorded pretty hot. Let's take it down a good few dB. Now here's our drum room mic. And you can see it's in the green zone. It's peaking somewhere around -30 dBFS. So it's fine, we're not going to have any digital clipping, but we may find that it could get a bit too quiet and a bit problematic when it comes down to mixing. So let's give it some extra gain. Working with a relatively even sound, say like a synth or a strumming acoustic guitar, can be a little bit easier to find where those peaks are. If you're working with a dynamic instrument like a kick or a snare drum or a vocal, try to find the loudest peak in the track and gain stage from there. Okay, so that is quick and easy gain staging done. As we work through the tutorials of this course, we'll be keeping an eye on our mix bus down here, keeping an eye on the levels and applying that same traffic light system. We certainly don't want to see those peaks going anywhere past -6 dBFS, and optimally looking around those peaks around -10, -12 dBFS. And the same goes for any buses that you create. We'll be taking a look at that a little bit later on in the course. One last tip before I go: much like the previous tutorial, I would recommend doing gain staging on at least the day before you start the mix. You don't want to start a mix when you're feeling all creative by having to do a quick bit of gain staging. So get it done before mix day. Okay, go and make yourself a cup of tea. You've earned it, and I'll see you in the next tutorial.